Hello guys, a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to Testbook Regulatory Bodies. So in this particular session, we are going to talk about usually this session is for Saturday. So due to some technical issues, we generally postponed it for Sunday itself. So today we are going to talk about D-SIBs, okay, D-SIB and G-SIB, okay. So everyone, those who are watching live, please quickly join in and do mention into the comment section if everything is fine from my side, so we can start our today's discussion. Before starting this particular session, guys, one important announcement for all of you. If you are going for RBI Grade B interview, IFSCA Grade A interview, and as well as NABARD Grade A interview, okay, so we are going to conduct, or like interviews are already live basically from our side, and these interviews are free of cost for all of you, right? So do avail this particular opportunity. There is a form given in the description box. Please do fill that particular form, right? चलो तो start करते हैं session को आपका. As I told you, today's session is around DSIB, domestic systematically important bank. Okay, so whenever we talk about DSIB, so in case of India, we have SBI, SDFC, and ICICI Bank. These three banks are generally categorized as DSIB. So if you go in the past, so there was one historical events that happened in 2007-8, that is called global financial crisis. Okay, so dude, like if you understand that global financial crisis, there was a bank in US called Lehman Brothers Bank. So that got default, and with that default, there was number of small banks. They were totally dependent on that Lehman Brothers banks. They also got default, and insurance companies, they also got defaulted because the amount payable was huge. Okay, and the story or the background behind this particular default was a mortgage crisis. Basically, they lended their they created assets, but with the housing loans and all, with a minimum margin was around 2%, 5% and all. So that generally created a ripple effect in the market, and that lead to a global recession. Okay, not only in US itself, पूरी दुनिया भर के अंदर आपका वहां पे एक रिसेशन हमें देखने के लिए मिला, and that is also known as systemic risk. So systemic risk is basically when default done by one banks, and that bank got a collapse, and it lead to multiple default in the banking system or the entire banking system. Okay, so that ripple effect created in the system, and that is generally known as systemic risk, okay, which we generally experience in 2007-8 after the like that is generally categorized as global financial crisis. Just after that, BCBS, Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, they held their meeting and they studied the entire scenarios, and that was something concerning with the liquidity risk which those banks they generally face that time, right? So they come up with some kind of solution, and the outcome was GSIB, Global Systematically Important Bank. Okay, there are a list of bank. We'll go through those particular one also. Okay? And India adopted this particular measure as a domestic systematically important bank. So whoever is part of this particular system, they are the most important bank of that particular economy, uh, on the basis of their asset side and their interconnection with other bank, or especially with the small banks and all. ठीक है, तो दिस इज जनरल टेंडेंसी. ठीक है, आप मतलब कि बैंकिंग में ये बहुत कॉमन होता है. ठीक है, कॉमन क्या होता है इस लाइक कि जैसे इफ देयर इज अ बिग बैंक, ठीक है, तो जैसे लेमन ब्रदर बैंक आपका, सो दीज स्मॉल बैंक्स ऑफ द कंट्री दे जनरली have dependency on these particular banks. ठीक है, they generally kept their deposit or other liabilities with this particular one. ठीक है, so if this got defaulted, तो ये सारे आपके लाइन वाइज डिफॉल्ट हुए. बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट था, तो इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज भी आपके डिफॉल्ट हुए. ठीक है, so similarly in our economy also, SBI, ICICI and SDFC. If you ask me the sequence, it is SBI, SDFC, then ICICI. ठीक है, asset wise these are the bigger bank. कनेक्शन वाइज, इंटरकनेक्शन की अगर आप बात करते हैं, उनका इन्वॉल्वमेंट बहुत ज्यादा आप करें. सो कहीं ना कहीं इफ समथिंग हैपन लाइक 2007-8 क्राइसिस, और इफ देयर इज एनी काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेसफुल सिचुएशन in the Indian economy or in the world economy, so we have to protect these particular bank very like this is the very first priority. We have to protect these particular one because other are depending on these particular one. So now like they have to maintain some additional or some buffer capital, right? जैसे आप लोगों ने सुना होगा ना, like bank they have to maintain CAR capital adequacy ratio. तो इनके लिए वो रूल तो है ही है, इनके अलावा they have to मेंटेन सम एडिशनल लेयर ऑफ कैपिटल, ठीक है? अगर ऐसा कोई भी स्ट्रेसफुल सिचुएशन होता है, सो फर्स्ट दैट एडिशनल लेयर विल गेट ब्रीचेस, तो फिर भी हमारे विल गेट इनफ टाइम टू कम आउट विद दैट पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन एंड ऑल, ठीक है? तो इसके लिए आपका डीसिप का कॉन्सेप्ट आया, ठीक है? और जहां पे 3 बैंक रिसेंटली दिस वाज इन न्यूज, RBI increased the surcharge, ठीक है? So now there are 5 bucket under this one. SBI will come under 4 and SDFC will shift it to 2 from 1, ठीक है? And ICICI will remain with the same bucket, and this will be effective from 1st April 2025, right? So these are banks that are considered too big to fall due to their size, complexity and interconnectedness, right? The failure of these banks could significantly disrupt the banking system and the economy. That is generally known as, they can create any kind of they can ripple effect, and that can lead to the overall defaults of banks, and that is generally known as systemic risk. Okay, so DSIP are subject to additional regulatory measure like capital buffers, stress testing, and recovery and resolution planning to enhance their resilience and ability to withstand financial shock. Okay, तो अगर कोई भी ऐसे किसी भी प्रकार का कोई financial shock होता है या कोई भी stressful situation होती है, situation like COVID-19, global financial crisis, Great Depression, तो ऐसे situations में these banks they should have enough capital to deal with that particular one, ठीक है? तो जिसके लिए they have to maintain additional capital buffer. Stress testing आपका होता है basically कि अगर ये ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन होती है जो पास्ट में हुई है या अगर उससे भी डेंजर, तो वी यूज टू कीप दैट टेस्टिंग, ठीक है? कि हाँ अगर वो सिचुएशन होती है तो हमारा बैंक प्रोटेक्टेड रहेगा या नहीं रहेगा, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग, ठीक है? एंड रिकवरी एंड रेजोल्यूशन व्हिच इज जनरली पार्ट ऑफ देयर एसेट साइड, ओके, टू मैनेज द क्रेडिट रिस्क एज वेल एज लिक्विडिटी रिस्क, राइट? चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं, नेक्स्ट वन. So RBI placed DSIP in bucket based on their system importance score, SIS, that is called systematic importance score. Bank in a lower attract lower capital charge, that is bucket 1, and bucket 5 is like the highest one, okay? While the bucket in higher attract higher capital charge, so we have a list of bucket 1 to 5, okay? 1 2 3 4 5. जैसे अभी SBI comes under this, SDFC and ICICI they come under this, but SDFC will now come to this particular one where they have to maintain 4.40 and SBI they maintain 0.80 additional capital of their tier 1 CET1, right? So the RBI released the framework for dealing with DCM in 2014, and it becomes started effective from 15 itself, and the latest change was in last week itself, right? So we have these 5 buckets which are generally part of this team. So those who fall under the bucket 1, 2014 it was something like this, and the recent last one that is the same, so if any bank who generally fall under bucket 1, so they have to maintain 0.10%, sorry, 0.20% of additional capital of their CET1, apart from that CAR, capital conversion buffers, counter cyclical buffers and all, right? So this is the first one, Tim. If someone comes under this, they have to maintain 0.40, 3 आपका 0.60, 4 आपका 0.80, and if someone comes under 5, so they have to maintain 1% additional capital buffer, right? So these are the areas which you have to remember. Now we'll come to the system itself. RBI follow like there are 2 major areas on the basis of which we generally consider a bank as a DSIP. Okay, so आपका two-step process for identifying DSIP. Sample selection, आपका first one is not all the banks, so only those asset size is around 2% of the GDP. ठीक है? So with significant systematic importance based on size, bank with asset over 2% of GDP. ठीक है? ऐसे बैंक जिनका asset size is आपका 2% of our GDP, they will be considered this, ठीक है? Are considered systematic importance assessment, another one, based on the range of indicators like lack of sustainability, interconnectedness, etc. A composite score is calculated for each bank, and these are exceeding a criteria threshold are classified as DSIP. तो ये दो तरीके से parameters. One is very simple one. If your overall asset side is greater than 2% of India's GDP. Another one is like we have substitutability, we have interconnectedness or other parameters of RBI. So based on those particular one, to highest side पे होंगे, they'll be part of this particular things. Understood? This is clear, guys. Any doubt on this particular one? Okay. So in India, we have SBI, ICICI, and SDFC. These three banks are part of this one. Everybody knows about these. And even this can be, they can ask you this particular thing in your upcoming interview itself, right? So you have to be very cautious about this. Continue to be identified domestic systematically important bank, while ICICI Bank continue to be in the same bucket structure as last year, which is one. SBI आपका that will be part of 4 and SDFC will be part of second one. ठीक है, to higher buckets, SBI shift from 3 to 4 and SDFC shift from 1 to 2 आपका. ठीक है, so that means they have to maintain 0.80. Earlier it was 0.60, and SDFC they have to maintain 0.40. Earlier it was 0.20, right? So for SBI and SDFC, DSIP requirements on accounts of the bucket increase will be effective from 1st of April 2025. The additional common equity tier 1 CET1 requirement will be additional to the capital conversion buffers. Okay, and this change will be applicable from the 1st of April 2025 itself. So that means after this they have to maintain their capital according to this, right? So ICICI, it will remain same 0.20. Now SDFC earlier 0.20, now they have to maintain 0.40 because it become part of bucket 2, right? And SBI will become part of bucket 4. That means they have to maintain additional CET1 capital, that is 0.80%. Understood, guys? This is clear to everyone. So please do remember this one. This is definitely going to help you out, right? So now these are the areas. Same. So SBI, the country's largest lender, is in bucket 4 and will need to maintain an additional common equity capital of 0.80%. SDFC 0.40%, and ICICI Bank it will continue with 0.20%. Okay? And for these two banks, this will be effective from 1st of April 2025 itself. Okay? So this is the entire report. Now we will talk about GSIB. Okay, so one basic framework or basic idea about GSIB. Okay? So Financial Stability Board, in consultation with BCBS, Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, and national authorities, identifies GSIB. So there are 29 GSIB across the world, including JP Morgan, then we have Bank of America, Citigroup, HSBC, Agriculture Bank of China, Barclays, BNP Paribas, and all. So these are some banks which generally fall under the they are generally categorized as GSIB, globally systematically important bank. Global systematically important bank. Like for India, we have DSIB, domestic systematically important bank. So first, this concept is coined by BCBS itself, right? So they come up with some suggestion that those banks which are very, very important, they have the huge asset side and all, they should maintain some additional some additional capital buffer of their CET1. Okay? So similarly, India also adopted that particular things in the name of DSIB itself. Understood? So this was in news in last week itself. Okay? And so I thought, yeah, I'll come up with a comprehensive analysis from the background to the present one. Okay, even like some part is futuristic also. Like it will become 1st April, effective from 1st April 25. So it will be definitely in news as well, right? So I hope you understood this particular thing clearly. Now I'll see you just after half an hour, 7 p.m. For our management classes. So today we are going to talk about perception. Okay, very interesting subject topic. So management, today we are going to talk about perception and theories related to perception and elements or determinants which generally decide a person's perception. Okay, so we will first discuss the concept, basic concept part, and then we will practice the questions based on that particular area as well, right? So guys, I hope you enjoy this particular session. So I'll see you in the class. And guys, one important announcement: if you are going for RBI Grade B 2024 interview, IFSCA Grade A 2024 interview, as well as NABARD Grade A 2024 interviews. Okay, so we are generally conducting free mock tests for all of you. Okay? So we have already started with free mock from last week onwards. Okay? So nowadays we are taking interviews for RBI Grade B, and we do have a separate panel for that one. They are retired person from the RBI and other institutions. Okay, so if you also want to participate in that particular one, there is a form given in the description box, or you can simply mention into the comment section. So our team will share a form with you, and you have to, like, it is completely free of cost. Then they'll connect with you, and they'll again basically streamline your interview with our panel itself, right? So this is it from my side. Thank you for joining this particular session, and I'll see you just after half an hour. So